It's that time of month. That's exactly right. In today's video, we're going to go through Toronto home prices by property type, by area. The TREB resale market report just came out. We just finished February. At the time of recording of this video, it is March 6th. So we have the latest numbers at our disposal to talk about Toronto and GTA home prices from all areas and from all angles. But before we get into that, hello everyone. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sam, a Toronto real estate agent actively working across the Toronto and GTA areas on the behalf of buyers and sellers. On this channel, we like to discuss everything having to do with the Toronto real estate market. Market stats, market reports, buyer advice, seller advice, area analysis, building reviews, real estate vlogs, property tours of homes I've bought and sold. I could keep going on. So if you find any of this content enjoyable or informative, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Or you can find my contact information in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me with any inquiry. And I've been lucky enough to meet many of you from YouTube and other social media platforms as well. So let's start with the Toronto and GTA home price report for March of 2024. Let's start with the headline figure, the biggest number of them. The average sold price across all property types across all areas. In this case, the average price came in at $1,108,000, which represents a 1.1% increase year over year. So comparing it to February of 2023. For reference, the average sold price in February of 2023 was $1,096,000. Now, this 1.1% increase is an increase, but it's not substantial by any means. And if you've watched this channel for a long time, you know what I'm going to say, which is whether we're talking about a price decline or increase, 1% to me doesn't mean anything. It pretty much indicates that the market is pretty even, pretty flush. Now, what's more noteworthy and substantial in nature is the price increase on a month-over-month front. So how much prices have jumped from February to January. Now, of course, there is a key caveat here, but I'll get to that in a second. In terms of the pure numbers here, average home prices across all areas and all property types, once again, this general category, increased 6.9% month over month. So we have seen an almost 7% increase in home prices from January to February. And that's way more noteworthy. That's way more deserving of emphasis because that is a healthy gain in terms of home prices. Now, the key caveat here is that this happens every year, right? It is seasonal in nature. Home prices typically increase from January to February, and of course from February to March. So I would expect, for many other reasons as well, I would expect to see this continue into March, when we do this market report at the end of March and beginning of April, I would not be surprised to see March numbers also be up month over month as well. So it's seasonal, but that doesn't mean it's not real, because get this, last year from January to February, when prices increased, it was only to the tune of 5.5%. So yes, it does happen every year, but this year it seems as if it happened a little bit more assertively, I guess, for lack of a better word, where prices increased more than they typically have. But this 7% increase on the month over month front is still short of the month over month increase. Now in 2023, it's we just discussed, it's higher than 2023, but it is still short of what happened in 2022. And keep in mind, 2022, February, March of 2022 was the all-time peaks of the Toronto and GTA real estate markets. So that is kind of an outlier. Well, you may ask, what about home prices by property type? Well, that's why I have this chart right here. Let's start with detached. Detached homes came in at an average sold price of $1,443,000. This represents a marginal, barely, once again, any increase year over year, with a small tune of 0.2%, right? Once again, if 1% isn't anything, 0.2% is definitely nothing. But on a month over month, that gain, once again, a common theme here, is much more substantial and healthy. Because in January of 2024, the average sold price for detached homes across the GTA was at $1,350,000. So this is about a 6.8% increase month over month. Well, what about condos? Let's get to condos. Well, condos were actually down year over year. That's right. They were down to the tune of almost 1.5% comparing it to February of 2023. And this runs pretty consistent with what I've been talking about on this channel, right? Of course, the condo market is a huge, substantial market. It's a huge, substantial market. You have a couple of buildings all the way east as Clarington, all the way west as, for instance, you know, the furthest west in Mississauga, all the way north in Simcoe, and obviously Toronto, downtown York region, everything else in between. So the condo market is a vast market, and it has its hot areas and cold areas. But all in all, overall, condos are the only property type to remain consistently moderate to cool, depending on where you look. Whereas other property types, when broken down by area, for instance, detached that we just discussed, you can see certain areas where they're way more on the seller-friendly side of things, or areas where they're not so much in the seller-friendly side of things, but more moderate, but definitely not in a buyer's market either. So this is pretty consistent with what I've been talking about on this channel, and talking about, with clients, that condos have been the most relaxed, and here we see it clearly down 1.5% year over year. Now, once again, if we were to break this down by area, I would promise you North York, for instance, if we were to look at North York, Toronto, condos are probably up year over year. Maybe not by a lot, but still up. Downtown, I wouldn't be surprised if it's down even more than 1.5%. So it really depends on where you look. Anyways, in terms of the month over month figure, well, month over month, condos are up as well, up just shy of 2% at 1.9% month over month, wherein in January of 2024, the average sold price for a condo across the GTA was 680 or so thousand, if my memory serves me correct. It's probably on the screen anyways. And once again, this is pretty consistent about my messaging with regards to condos. Condos are probably, in a weird way, going to have the least fluctuations. Overall, once again, you're gonna see condos increase the least, you're gonna see condos drop the least. And that's one thing I've been discussing for a long time as well. Anyways, moving forward to semi-detached and townhomes. Semi-detached is the property type that has been performing the strongest, especially with regards to this Toronto home price report. In February of 2024, we saw it's up around 5% year over year and up 8% month over month. That's a big increase, 8% month over month, even more than detached. And it could be potentially that in this climate, a lot of buyers look at semi-detached as the perfect affordable option, right? First and foremost, most detached homes in central York region, central Toronto, and some areas of Peel and Durham, most detached, well, maybe not so Durham, but most detached, you're really not looking at really good options once you start to look in the 1.2s, in some cases 1.3s, right? The healthy options really start in the 1.5s. Once again, dependent on area. Some people would rather, buy a really good semi for 1.2, 1.3, as opposed to, push their budget up for a moderate to okay detached in 1.5, 1.6. Once again, I know I sound like a broken tape recorder. I keep having to mention this is all area dependent. Right now we're talking about GTA wide. There's a lot of areas with a lot of variances here. So my commentary here applies GTA wide. And then townhomes is kind of a mishmash of results, right? Townhomes are pretty much even year over year, once again, down 0.7%, barely anything. But at the same time, up around 4 to 5% month over month from January of 2024. So here overall, when we break it down by property type, we see everything, maybe with the exception of condos, is showing great gains. Still, all these figures, all these numbers are far shy of all-time peak markets we saw in spring of 2022, and at a GTA wide level, still relatively shy of the peak in 2023, which really didn't happen until April and May of 2023. That's when the market kind of peaked in 2023, was April and May. So these prices, for the most part, are still far short of the peak in 2022, which was the all-time peak, and somewhat in range, but short of the peak in 2023. By the way, before we continue, for first access to these figures and other numbers and other reports, or my own research, you can join my exclusive WhatsApp group chat, which is a 100% anonymous group chat that I only know who's part of, as many I have, and I share across the latest numbers, the latest reports, and the latest news items in that WhatsApp group chat. So feel free to join that WhatsApp group chat for the latest updates. Anyways, moving on. Nonetheless, let's talk about how buyers and sellers should be approaching the market right now, which is usually how I kind of end these videos. And just to today, the Bank of Canada maintained their policy rates, right? So they continue with this pause of interest rates. They did not cut the rates, and they obviously did not increase the rates. Many people, including myself, predicted that this would be the case, that they would not touch it. However, historically, we have seen that pauses are in of themselves sufficient to boost buyer confidence and boost consumer confidence. We have seen this in 2023 when the Bank of Canada started pausing the rates and kind of stopped their hiking policy. That's when the market kind of shifted towards more seller-friendly market. putting typical seasonal considerations aside. So fact of the matter is that, in combination with the fact that, once again, we're entering the seasonal spring market, which is the hot time of the year typically, I believe will provide the groundwork for a warm spring market in terms of as we progress into March and April and end things in May. The sellers who listened to me and kind of stayed off market in fall of 2023, even late summer of 2023, are well served right now, right? This is the time for them, if they have any serious motivations to sell, for them to go on market. I'm not just speaking from the numbers, I'm speaking from experience. I have a lot of things coming down the pipeline, right? Right now, a seller can sell much better than they would have otherwise in fall of 2023. On the flip side of things, of course, once again, my messaging on the buyer's end remains consistent too. Most buyers were really better served buying in fall of 2023 and really latest January of 2024. Obviously, condos are still relaxed, still moderate. So for condo buyers, there is still time to, have your protections, have your leverage, have your agents negotiate for a proper and fair deal. But for freehold buyers, particularly for detached and semis, things are starting to get a little bit more out of hand. Once again, very area dependent, right? There are certain pockets of Peel and Durham that's still pretty relaxed and moderate. There are certain streets, there are certain municipalities in York region that is very hot. Prices haven't increased substantially, but buyer competition has definitely increased substantially. But as I always say, ultimately comes down to your particular criteria, your particular property type, and your particular situation, right? When I sit down with buyers and sellers, it's always specific to them. Nonetheless, at a general level, I'm very confident in what I just stated. Anyway, stay tuned for a lot more content to come out. We're going to do a condo price report as well as, breaking down areas a little bit more detail. As always, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and the Remax Realtron Realty Inc. You can find my contact information in the description box. And feel free to reach out with any questions. Subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.